This is Tony Dobek with Sonora Cinematic, and today I'm going to be walking you through how I used Modular Explorations and Magnetism to create an Eerie SciFi track. When I'm working with libraries like this and I'm looking for inspiration, I go through and I audition the different libraries and I pick out the ones that spark my interest or give me an idea. And sometimes I'll end up coming up with a little fragment of an idea while I'm working with them, and I'll record that and have that just kind of in a little bank that I keep at the side for inspiration as I get going. Then, once I've chosen all of those, I go through and I pare down, because a lot of the times there are more tracks that spark my interest than I will ultimately use in the final piece. I do that by going through and finding some that I really like and then trying to combine them, finding the sounds that work well together and removing the ones that don't work as cohesively with the rest that I've chosen. So let's take a look now and listen to the track that I ended up creating, and I'll show you the instruments that I used. So these are the tracks that I was left with after I went through and decided what would sound best together. I felt that these ones, out of what had sparked my interest, were going to work cohesively together, but were also going to build in that really nice chaotic way that I wanted at the end of the track. From Modular Explorations, I have the Harmonia Mundi a couple of times. I've got the Kalimba a couple different times, both the long and short of the shower scenes. I've got some ambient patches as well, and then I have some of the pulse patches there too that you'll see as I go through. And just to take a quick look at the interface, the reason that I have a couple of the same patch loaded up is because there are a lot of different things to play with in here. You can kind of take a look at how these affect it. But then you've also got a delay, reverb, you've got an ADSR that you can work with. You can choose where your sample starts. You've got resonance, and then you have a low and high pass filter that you can adjust your cutoff on. So there are a lot of different ways to play with these libraries, with any library really. And that is why I have them loaded up a couple of different times. I also have tracks using Magnetism, and to take a look at that interface really quick, you can see that there are a few different options in terms of your delay, reverb, and some filters that you can throw on here. And you've also got this mod wheel, which does some cool stuff. And later in the track, I actually automate this mod wheel with two different tracks going back and forth to play with that, because that's a very cool and fun thing to play with. Once I had decided that this was going to be my sound palette, I started working on the piece. And let's take a look now at how I put it together. I really liked the ambient patches and the rhythmic patches, and I decided to start just with this right here. I really liked how the two of these played together. I liked having this kind of weird, soft ambient thing happening under here, which kind of leaves you not fully certain of the key that you're going in if it's just this alone. And I knew that I was going to want some motif type of thing happening throughout, and I really liked the organy sound up here with Harmonia Mundi. So I decided to work with that to start getting some melodic elements in here. I had mentioned earlier how frequently I will be playing with things and have an idea before I've really started composing, when I'm just still auditioning the tracks. And this here in the kalimba is one of those examples of that. I really liked this feel. I knew it was going to come a little bit later in the track. So this is something that I was playing with while I was auditioning things. I'm a very big fan of circusy or organy things that sound sci-fi and creepy, so I knew I was going to want to play with that. And this is actually one of the ones that was just kind of my base as I built my sound palette and pared down some of the tracks that I had really liked. So we've got these to start, and I started laying my outline out from here, and I knew that I was going to want a little bit of a contraction moment before I built again, and I wanted it to be focused in rhythm. So I threw this one in here, and it's kind of got like a little bit of a tonal situation going on to it. And I liked that coming back in. I wanted that to keep coming in to remain cohesive, especially as things built up. So I knew I was going to want another rhythm section in this part right here. I wanted it to be a little bit of a contraction in the form here, but I wanted it to be really rhythmic focused. So I layered these two on top here. So I knew I wanted another rhythm section that was a little bit different than what had come before to signal kind of a halfway point or a change in the direction of the track. And I grabbed bleeps and bloops to mess with. And as I was playing with the different options there, I wondered what would it be like if I just laid my hands down across the whole thing. And so I did that, and I thought it was pretty cool. And then I went in and I took away a little bit to declutter it, and I really liked what ended up coming out of that. After I got that finished, I decided I wanted to start fleshing this out a little bit because I felt like it would help me decide what would come next. So I went in here and I wanted to add some effects, kind of sounds. So I went in and I grabbed the shower scene. So I have that effect added. I think I want some more bass articulation in here, so I added these to see how that would feel. Cool, I like that deep rumble. I wanted a little bit more in there though. And then I thought, I think I could use maybe one more kind of tonal rhythmic element, so I threw this on there as well. And I still really liked it, but I felt like maybe I could bring in a little bit of ambience just to top it all off, and so I chose Drifting at Sea. So then I came back over here, having done this and feeling pretty good about what was happening there. And I knew that in this section, I did still want it to feel a little bit different. I wanted to introduce some new sounds. And I chose these two here to include in this section. And I have this transition happen, so you're gradually moving into this new section. Bringing this guy in. And it continues on from there. But I felt like this transition still wasn't done, so I decided to bring in a sound effect type of transition with this. And I thought that was pretty cool, so I kept it there. I still felt like I could use a little bit more help in the transition here, so I decided to put in something that was a little bit more of a sound effect by doing this. When I'm working with intense tracks, I really like to use contraction. And I like to use contraction because when you have a big climactic build at any point, if you have what's come before or after drastically quieter, it really does build that tension, and it emphasizes the places where you have those big building moments. So for this contraction before the final build, I wanted a creepy ambient effect happening. So I chose the long shower scene. And I added this and this in here to get some good creepy bass. And I have this come in to start the build. And then from there, I went in and I decided to try a stacked ambient type situation, which is always really fun to do with new libraries because you can just see what happens when you just hit a bunch of keys and let the ambience build. And this is what ended up happening for this part. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I really liked how those stacked. So I laid those as the foundation of the build. So then I really wanted to play with that modulation wheel, and I chose these right here. And this is how those turned out. And I liked that back and forth to kind of allow them to have their own emphasis when that modulation wheel was going. So for the final build of this track, I really wanted to bring in everything that we had heard before to have like just this big build, all of these elements, all of these individual pieces then fit together to finish this track out. And I took the previous things that we'd heard, and then I did a little bit of doubling. So I took A Mother's Pulse and I put it in the kalimba bass, and that ended up sounding like this. And I wanted to do another doubling here of this original fragment that we had, so I put that in the kalimba as well, in a different one. And then from there, I just added the rest of the elements that I hadn't added yet, and the build just went from there. It all stacked together really, really well, and I really liked how it finished up. There are so many different ways that you can play with modular explorations and magnetism. When I was working with them and getting a feel for what sounds were available, I was getting ideas for sci-fi and thriller and creepy experimental things, but I was also hearing things that could be really good in ambient, just chill lo-fi tracks. So go and play with it and have fun, and we can't wait to see what you come up with. Thank you for watching.